Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India.
Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yeshi Chanzam. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 17th of March. Indian Prime Minister Modi says quick action needed to stop emerging second peak of COVID-19. Pakistan muzzling voices of dissent in illegally occupied territories, activist tells UN. And Sri Lanka says burqa ban just a proposal after criticism from allies. And now for all the details. Urging chief ministers of different states and union territories to take quick and decisive steps amid the surge in COVID-19 cases, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday said the second wave of the deadly virus has to be stopped immediately. He advised the chief ministers to not to create panic but focus on vaccination and increase testing.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday held a video conference with chief ministers of different states and union territories to assess the COVID-19 situation in the country as well as the vaccination drive amid surge in new coronavirus cases. PM Modi during the interaction advised the chief ministers not to bring the public into panic mode but focus on vaccination and strictness for now. He said states have to increase testing in small cities as well.
अगर हम इस बढ़ती हुई महामारी को यही नहीं रोकेंगे तो देशव्यापी आउटब्रेक की स्थिति बन सकती है। हमें कोरोना की उस उभरती हुई सेकंड पीक को तुरंत रोकना ही होगा और इसके लिए हमें क्विक और डिसाइसिव कदम उठाने होंगे।
According to the Health Ministry, India's daily coronavirus infections jumped by 28,903 on Wednesday, the highest increase since December 13, which took the nationwide tally to 11.44 million. This comes as the country has so far administered the COVID-19 vaccination to nearly 35 million people in 2 months.
In news from Pakistan, the 10-party opposition alliance Pakistan Democratic Movement has postponed its long march planned for March 26. Its president Maulana Fazlur Rahman said on Tuesday that the decision was taken after Pakistan People's Party expressed reservations over the proposal to submit mass resignations along with the massive anti-government protest.
The Pakistan Democratic Movement on Tuesday postponed its long march planned for later this month amid differences within the 10-party opposition alliance on the issue of resigning from the assemblies. After holding hours-long meeting of the PDM in Islamabad, its president Maulana Fazlur Rahman said 9 PDM parties had agreed on the proposal to submit resignations along with the long march. However, PPP, the Pakistan People's Party, had reservations.
People's Party ने वक्त मांगा है कि हम अपनी पार्टी के सेंट्रल एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी की तरफ रुजू करेंगे और उसके बाद फिर हम पीडीएम को अपने फैसले से आगाह करेंगे। लिहाजा हमने उनको मौका दिया है और हमें उनके फैसले का इंतज़ार होगा। तब तक 26 मार्च का लॉन्ग मार्च मुलतवी तस्वुर किया जाएगा।
Meanwhile, ruling PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party's Senator Faisal Javed Khan said the development showed it's all curtains for PDM. Commenting on the disagreement among the opposition parties, he said the long march turns out to be a joke. This comes just a week after PTI's candidate Sadiq Sanjarani won a second term in the Senate chairman poll. While senior PPP leader Yusuf Raza Gilani, the opposition party's joint candidate, lost by 7 votes.
Moving on, political activist Nasir Aziz Khan highlighted crackdown by Pakistani security forces to muzzle dissent in Pakistan-administered Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan during the ongoing UNHRC session in Geneva this week. He urged the world body to intervene and stop human rights violation in the illegally occupied territories and demanded immediate release of all political prisoners.
Kashmiri political activist Nasir Aziz Khan urged the United Nations to take serious note on human rights violations in Pakistan-administered Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan during his intervention at the ongoing 46th UNHRC session in Geneva. Khan, the central spokesperson of the UK PNP, the United Kashmir People's National Party, said that those who oppose state policy, Islamabad uses religion as a weapon and terrorism as a foreign policy tool against them. He highlighted Pakistani security forces operate with impunity and crackdown to muzzle dissent is common in both the illegally occupied territories.
There are strict restrictions on freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, association, press, media and publications. Witch hunt of the political opponents, Kashmiri nationalists, is continuing. Those who are opposing state policy to use religion as weapon and terrorism as foreign policy tool. Those who are demanding for their self-governance, ownership of their natural resources and rule of law. Social and mainstream media is being used to defame activists, labeling them anti-state, anti-religion and foreign agent.
Khan also asked the United Nations to intervene in the release of all political and rights activists, including British Kashmiri journalist Tanveer Ahmad, activist Humayun Pasha and several others who have been in detention for peacefully resisting against Pakistan's illegal occupation of Pakistan-administered Kashmir.
In news from Afghanistan, the U.S. Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, John Sopko, has said that Taliban has not significantly changed their high levels of violence or military or political objectives in Afghanistan.
The U.S. Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, John Sopko, has said that the Taliban have not significantly changed their high levels of violence or military and political objectives in Afghanistan. Sopko mentioned that the civilian casualties also remain high. The number of civilian casualties voluntarily killed and wounded in the last quarter of 2020 were the third highest in the last 2 years. He also mentioned that the ongoing peace negotiations between the Afghan government and the Taliban raise questions and concerns about whether the fragile gains made by the women and girls will be preserved in a future peace agreement.
I believe most would agree with our report that achieving our counterterrorism and reconstruction objectives depends on a strong, stable, democratic, and self-reliant Afghanistan. Unfortunately, as our report discusses in great detail, Afghanistan is far from that reality and may be fighting for its very survival.
The US officials' comments came as the State Department has said that Moscow conference organized for advancing the Afghan peace process does not replace the negotiations in Doha between the Taliban and a delegation that includes the Afghan government officials. The Moscow meeting is scheduled to be held on Thursday, in which Afghan government and the Taliban representatives will also participate.
In news from Nepal, in an all-party meeting called by Nepal President Bidya Devi Bhandari on Tuesday to discuss issues amid the political crisis that has gripped the country, 3 former Prime Ministers boycotted the meeting, questioning her role in the row of the erstwhile Nepal Communist Party. This comes at a time when the top parties in the parliament are making a run for either sustaining the incumbent government or forming a new government by replacing Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli.
Nepal President Bidya Devi Bhandari on Tuesday called an all-party meeting to discuss contemporary issues amid the political crisis that has gripped the country. Bhandari defended her move of endorsing Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli government's House dissolution recommendation. At the meeting, some leaders had questioned the promptitude the office of the president had demonstrated on December 20 to endorse Oli's move. With the apex court's verdict in late February that overturned the dissolution move, criticism has risen high against Oli and Bhandari. Oli, opposition leader and former Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba, along with other leaders from the opposition as well as the ruling party, attended the meeting, which is seen as a reconciliation effort by the president to save the incumbent government. Though in power, Oli's position is gradually becoming untenable as the Nepali Congress, Maoist Centre, Janata Samajwadi Party can form an alliance. The CPN-UML faction led by Madhav Kumar Nepal also appears to be headed for a split, as party members accuse Oli of trying to divide the party. Meanwhile, a meeting of the CPN Maoist Centre Parliamentary Party picked Dehel as its leader.
Moving on to news from Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan government has said that no decision has been taken to impose a ban on wearing the burqa, one-piece veil that covers the face and body worn by Muslim women in the country, and will take full time to carefully discuss the proposed ban before taking any decision. This came following criticism from regional allies ahead of a crucial United Nations vote on human rights in the island nation. Following criticism from regional allies ahead of a crucial United Nations vote on human rights in the island nation, Sri Lanka said on Tuesday a call to ban the wearing of the burqa, one-piece veil that covers the face and body, was merely a proposal. Sri Lanka's Minister for Public Security, Sarath Weerasekara, last week said it would definitely ban the full face covering worn by some Muslim women on national security grounds pending cabinet approval. But Foreign Secretary Jayannath Colombage said on Tuesday, a decision has not yet been taken on what he described as merely a proposal, which is under discussion. The government will initiate a broader dialogue with all parties concerned, and sufficient time will be taken for necessary consultations to be held and for consensus to be reached, he added. The statement follows criticism from Pakistan's ambassador to Sri Lanka, Saad Khattak, Maldivian diplomat Ahmad Shahid, and many others. Several Muslim-majority countries are among the 47 nations that will vote on Sri Lanka's human rights record at the UN session in Geneva next week. A UN resolution passed against Sri Lanka could allow for prosecutions of government and military officials involved in ending a decades-long civil war in 2009. The controversial ban imposed to forcibly cremate coronavirus victims since March last year was also lifted after months of protest by Muslims and rights groups. Moving on, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid homage to Bangladesh founder Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on his birth anniversary on Wednesday and said he is a hero for all Indians. The tributes come ahead of the Prime Minister's visit to Bangladesh next week. Taking to Twitter, Modi called Sheikh Mujibur Rahman a champion of human rights and freedom. Prime Minister Modi will visit Bangladesh on March 26 and 27, his first visit to a foreign country since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. Modi, who is visiting at the invitation of Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, will participate in the commemoration of three epochal events: Mujibur Borsho, the birth centenary of Bangladesh's father of the nation Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, 50 years of diplomatic ties and 50 years of Bangladesh's war of liberation. Besides holding bilateral talks with Hasina, Modi will also meet President Mohammad Abdul Hamid and Foreign Minister A.K. Abdul Momen. The backyard horticulture scheme launched in India's Jammu and Kashmir months ago is being appreciated by the growers who are enjoying the benefits of it. The government scheme, under which growers are provided fruit plants at subsidy rates, aim to promote organic fruit production and growers to fulfill their individual requirements.
Government's backyard horticulture program in Anantnag district of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir is promoting organic fruit production and helping growers to fulfill their individual requirements. The scheme was launched few months back in the Union Territory, under which at least 3 fruit plants costing Rs 200 are distributed among the farmers at 90% subsidy.
तो ये बहुत अच्छी स्कीम है, क्योंकि जो गरीब है वो बाहर से नहीं ला सकता है, तो इन्होंने यहाँ पेड़ 4-4, 5-5 दे दिए एक-एक बंदे को, एक-एक जो घर चूल्हा है, चूल्हे को एक-एक 4-4 पेड़ 5-5 पेड़ दे दिए.
Before the launch of the plantation scheme in the Kashmir Valley, a demonstration on the cultural practices to be adopted while planting the fruit plants in the backyard of the houses to keep away the insect and diseases was also given to the farmers. They were advised to plant the fruits in the backyard of their house to increase green cover for preservation of the environment.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/AsAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @AsAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.
Subscribe Tag TV YouTube channel and press the notification button. Subscribe Tag TV YouTube channel and press the notification button.